right, guys, what's going on? It is Coach Will, and in this recording, I want to talk about when you as an owner should begin to step out of the day-to-day work of the business. Okay, so in this particular recording here, I have a gym owner asking a question. I'm just going to read his question to kind of frame up the answer so you can best understand when it makes sense and kind of as you grow your business and start to delegate, when it makes sense to kind of start jumping out of the day-to-day. Okay, so gym owner named Joe in our program here asked the question of target classes coached by owner. He said, "Hey all, I'm currently coaching an average 12 classes a week while trying to grow the business. I've got 8 part-time coaches averaging 3 classes per week in traded membership plus $10 per class. Clearly the move is for me to take the leap and hire a full-time coach. When," his question here, when number wise, do you know it's time, or did you just, at whatever cost, make the hire? He follows this up with a second question here. A bigger red flag is 2 coaches have had the balls to ask me what I do day to day that I can't cover classes when applicable. My belief is that these coaches are way too busy to be coaches, but couldn't imagine leaving the role. How have you dealt with part-time coaches' ego? Have a great weekend. Okay. Great set of questions. This is a juicy topic, and I've done a lot of content on this in the past, but it's been a minute since I've discussed it, so I'd love to dive in. Okay, so first, the gym owner's coaching 12 classes here. Seems like an okay number, right? That's 12 hours a week plus the setup and the takedown, whatever is required around those class times. So it's safe to say he's probably got 20 hours a week between those 12 classes that he's blocking out time for, because obviously you can't schedule anything too close to a class. Mentally, it takes time to get back into the flow of working on other parts of the business when you're coming off of coaching a class. Sometimes you need to talk to members before and after class. So it's safe to say, at 12 classes a week, this gym owner has at least 20 hours he's got to block out to make sure these classes are covered, right? So if he's trying to put in a 50-hour work week, ideally as a gym owner, it becomes more profitable, they start to kind of lower the number of hours they're working and instead go for quality of work instead of quantity of work. But early on, when you're in the growth phase, as Joe is here, sometimes you do need to put in extra hours. And I think, when your gym's in its growth phase and you don't have necessarily tons of cash to give other people to coach, you do some of the in the business work and you put in those extra hours, and sometimes you are pushing 40 plus 50 plus hours. And I think that that's okay for a certain phase of your business. But that lines up well with Joe's question here, like when do we start to move out of that, right? He says, I've got 8 part-time coaches coaching 3 classes per week in trade of membership plus $10 a class. Okay, so that right there I definitely want to approach. So I'm not a big fan, and people will certainly debate this, but it's not so much like can you, but it's a should you thing, right? Can you do an in trade of membership type of relationship with your coaches? Yes. Now the issue here is the when you're doing that, when you're bartering, people don't generally barter very well. They don't place equal value when they're trading their time for something that's like a fixed thing, like a membership, right? Plus, because they're coaches, they kind of look at it like they'd be getting a discount in a membership, but they had to pay it anyways, right? So like they're not looking at it as a full value trade in trade for the membership, right? And people don't do well when it comes to trading time for services. The value isn't generally viewed as equal. So we always had trouble with this. We stopped doing trade of membership. What we did is we started paying the coaches. At the time, a good going rate for coaches was between $20 and $25 an hour in our city. So we paid that $20 to $25 an hour depending on the coach's experience. We had some coaches we paid 30 plus, but most of our coaches, if they're part-time, it was on the lower end of that spectrum because they weren't doing a lot above and beyond coaching classes to bring value. So, we paid them the $20 an hour, and then we gave them a membership for free, right? And I'll tell you, when we made that change, there was a profound shift in the way the coaches took direction and the way that they respected us as ownership, right? I'm not a big fan of bartering, because this is your end service your business provides. And if you're providing someone and you're delegating to them and you're giving very clear instructions and they're trading their time for that, you should pay them for that time. And then if it's a service that they need to use to be a good provider of it, then they probably should just get that for free anyways. That's my belief, right? And I'll tell you that in my experience of running 2 very, very successful gyms that were at decent scale, that we made all the mistakes of doing the trade things and discounted memberships and things like that for coaching. and it never really went well, right? So we ended up just having a meeting one day and saying, here's the way we're doing it, guys. If you're on staff, and we determined what on staff was, and we had an employment document for all of our coaches that from that day forward, once they signed it, that's what they agreed to, that you're going to be paid X for class and you're going to get membership for free. But here's our line that we're drawing in the sand, and our expectations, our roles, responsibilities, and requirements for you as a coach here, right? So that might be something Joe here, and my advice to Joe would be is to probably sit down and reevaluate this. Also, the volume, right? So he's got 8 different coaches coaching 3 classes per week. That's a lot of people, a lot of personalities to manage, right? And like, it's ultimately for the same number of classes. I would definitely move away from this number of coaches. You got 8 coaches coaching 24 hours. It sounds like 3 classes per week each. It says on average, right? So I would try to pare that down to like 3 or 4 coaches. I would try to find your 3 or 4 best, give them more hours, and cut the people that, you mentioned there's a couple here. You had a red flag of 2 of the coaches asking, more or less having the balls to ask you what you do day to day, right? And that's a huge red flag. If they don't understand that you're running a business, if they just think that you're a trainer that's trading dollars for hours, then there is a complete misalignment of what you are trying to do and what they think you are doing. And what you end up having there is you have people that aren't rowing the boat in the same direction, right? If people that are on your team, how you have to view building a team is like, as you assemble your team, everybody understands that the business is the boat. And they understand that at the front of the boat is the captain. And the captain's job is to guide the boat and make sure everybody who's in charge of operating the boat is doing their part, from the maintenance of the boat to keep it in the water and keep it going, from the running of the boat to keep the boat moving forward. And they all understand that our job is to help the captain keep the boat going in the direction we're going. If they think the captain is the boat, or if they think the captain is someone that should be rowing the boat with them, then you're going to have conflict. This is a major red flag. Like these people, like I would probably kick them off the boat as quickly as I could. So it sounds like, it's kind of a self-answering question here. You've got 8 coaches. You need to get that down to like 3 or 4. So you have less personalities to manage. The personalities I would cut would probably be those 2 coaches and maybe even a third or a fourth that maybe are out of alignment, right? Because if they're just there to trade a little bit of time for a free membership, it tells me they don't value their time very much, because a gym membership, for a CrossFit gym is $200 a month. So if they're coaching 3 classes a week, 4 weeks a month, that's 12 classes. That means, and plus you're giving them $10, it means they're like pretty much working for $20 to $25 an hour in value, right? And the best coaches I ever had were the people that looked at this as like, they weren't just doing it in trade for that money. They were doing it in trade to be a part of something like a mission. They're mission-driven people, right? And when you have mission-driven people, you're never going to have a conversation with them about what are you doing all day. It's like, well, they should automatically understand and know these things if they're on the boat, that like your job is to advertise, market this business, advertise this business, generate interest, get an audience, get traffic, convert that traffic into leads, convert those leads into bookings, get those bookings in the door, sell those people, right? And then ultimately understand that like what our bigger goal is of running this business. Our bigger goal is to get our local community, the people we serve our local community with something that's going to change their lives. And that's what I'm doing as the owner of the business, is I'm leading that charge and that mission. And my job is also to lead and guide you guys, that you as employees, as staff, as members of our team, you need leadership. And that's my goal, is to make sure that there's leadership there. Now, if for some reason you're not doing your job and it's not clear to the staff, then that might also be on you, right? And I'm not saying that's the case here, because there's not enough information for me to say for sure. But I could tell you that like, for most people, if they're aligned on the mission and the goal and they're really bought in, they're not going to ask those kinds of questions. So it's either one of 2 things: either like they're confused because they genuinely aren't sure what you do every day, or 2, they know what you're supposed to be doing every day, but they're just challenging you. And anytime someone challenges you, that means a discussion needs to be had and clarity needs to be established in regards to like, well, you're asking me what I do all day, so let me ask you, what are you here for? If it's just here because you want to coach and you can't imagine doing something else, then I'm sorry, but this is not a good fit. because ultimately we need people rowing in the same direction, and there's a bigger goal we're after than just coaching some classes and going home every day. Okay, so that's how we deal with ego, is we address it, right? That's part of being a good leader, and stepping out of just being another coaching peer, is actually stepping into being a leader and having those difficult discussions sometimes, right? So just to make sure I answered all my questions here, numbers wise, how do you know it's time, or did you do whatever the cost was to make the hire? So generally, like if I can afford to hire a full-time staff member and my base needs are met for a period of time, like say, I'll give an example. When we had our second gym, there came a point where we hit about the $25,000 revenue range pretty early in the gym. And that was enough money to pay me, if I wanted to keep coaching about this number of classes, 12 classes a week, and do all the other things inside the gym. It was enough money to pay me six figures. I was able to, with our overheads at $25K, pay myself about $8,500 a month. And so I did for a little while. And I put some of that money away, and I paid my bills, and I just kept stashing. And then when I finally felt like I was getting a little burnt out, like I needed to start working on the business, and when the business was indicating to me by way of it being plateaued that I needed to step out of the day-to-day and start focusing more on the business and things like sales and lead generation and growth and client acquisition and upsells and ascension and building the bigger business, when that became evident to me, I actually decided to take a pay cut to pay a full-time person. Now, was that scary? Yes, that was very, very scary, because I was like, okay, I make $8,500 a month, and now I'm going to split that with someone else to coach full-time. And that's what I did at the time. I cut my salary in half, and I paid myself the equivalent of $48K a year, and I paid someone else on the team $48K a year. And we actually hired outside for that person. We went looking for someone who had management experience running a gym. And at the time, we were very, very fortunate to find the person we did. And I'm still very, very grateful, because I'm still friends with that person. And they were like, knowing what I know now about the gym world, it was a really, really good, really rare relationship. But I'll say it was also due to, it was probably rare because not everybody does the things I did either in regards to how I hired and how I brought the team on. Not to get too deep into that, but we have, he started there, and then because I was able to step out of the day-to-day, within like 2-3 months, I was able to make up that $48,000 in salary for myself and for him. So I gave us both raises in the first year, right? Because I told him that, and there was alignment. He understood that, like, hey, and I told him, I'm hiring you because I need to be free of the day-to-day. Are there going to be days where I want to be involved in the day-to-day? Yes, and I will tell you, and I would like for that to be optional. And I told him that, like, otherwise it's your responsibility if I don't want to do those things today, or I'm not opting to, participate today. And he understood that, so he proceeded every day to do the things he was doing as if I wasn't going to participate in regards to running the gym and the day-to-days. And we also spent 6 months onboarding that person, so he understood what my day-to-day was like and all the things that are required to run this gym. And there were still parts of the business on the sales and marketing side that were my responsibility. He just ran more of the fulfillment, coaching, member management type of stuff on that side of the gym. And I told him that was his job, and that was so I could get free to go and generate more revenue for the business and more customers for the business, so I could ultimately pay us both more. And he said, hey, that sounds good. I'll do this side, you do that side. So it was kind of like having a business partner. Hiring that operator, that full-timer, was kind of like having a business partner. But they weren't obviously a shareholder. They wanted a career running a gym, and this was an opportunity for them to do that. So they were just grateful to have that. And ultimately me sharing with them, they're like, hey, if you do your job and I do my job, then we're both going to make more money, and my intention is to pay you more. And I told them that, like, I'm paying you $48K now. I'd like to get you to $60 by the end of this year. I can't guarantee that, but if you do your job to where I'm free enough to do my job on the growth end of the business, then that should be no problem for both of us. And it wasn't. By the end of, I think, 1 year, I was back to making $100K a year myself. I think he was making 60 to 70 with the bump and the bonuses that we gave him and things like that, plus the additional personal training that he sold on his own, from upselling our members into small group training that was very scalable. Right. So that's how I would address this, Joe. And I would definitely, since you're already managing all these people, I would address this rather quickly. It sounds like you're already there. So that's what how I figured out when the time was right was when the cash was already there to pay a full timer, and when I found like I had the person who's going to be the full timer, and I already felt like I had enough hours being covered and I was already paying out for. Because at the same time we made that full time hire, we did let some people go because those hours needed to be consolidated, right? Rather than pay, I think we had 6 coaches at that time, we let go of 2. And they were kind of the bad apples. They were the ones that were challenging me, because I'll tell you, when you have people that are part of the business early, they're probably not going to be part of the business long term. A lot of times they're there because, they were, coincidence or convenience or whatever the case may be. And it's early and they feel like they have some control because the business is small. But as it grows, those people start to challenge you as they realize that you're no longer dependent on them, right? So that's, more or less a little bit about, how I might handle this and how to choose when it's time to do it. So if you have any further questions or comments, or if this was valuable, comment below, like, share, all that good stuff. If you're watching this video, whether you're a gym owner or a business owner or whatever you are, and you found this video valuable, like, comment, share, turn the notification bell on, subscribe if I'm sharing this on one of the platforms where you can subscribe. And if you are a gym owner and you're not actively working with us and you want to have more of these types of discussions and you want to grow your business, not only acquire more traffic, but also generate more leads, turn more of those leads into people that are ready to visit your gym and having a full schedule every week of people that are ready to come in and visit your gym, convert more of those leads into sales, keep those members longer at a higher lifetime value, and also build a team, then go to biglittlegyms.com, BIGLITTLEGYMS. When you get there, you will click the Get Started button. When you click that button, up will pop a form. You will fill up that form. It'll ask you for some basic info, name, phone number, email, and then it will take you over to book your discovery call with me, where we can chat about your current situation, your desired situation, and what you are currently doing. And we will show you what we do and how we can help get you there, as well as how to get started and answer any questions you might have. That's it. BigLittleGyms.com. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.